leads into one other thing I would like to say. And that is, sometimes we get irate letters from emails from people saying, why isn't this title out yet? Why isn't that title out yet? And the reason is Don is so meticulous. He will not allow a DVD to come out unless every aspect of it is perfect and to his liking. And if we have to delay it, we will delay it. And it's unfortunate, but I think in the long run, when the fans finally get their hands on a particular title, they're very happy.
See, to me, that makes perfect sense as a game. It's, I'd much rather wait a year, however long, to get the right product than where you see other companies releasing like 4 and 5 copies of it. It's the initial edition. It's the special edition.
And there are companies out there with more than 2 people that every title that they put out has a problem.
Yeah,
and it's
we
just
won't name names.
we just try. You know, it's 2 guys and we're slow. I mean, my dad, I think, when I was younger, my dad used to say, it's not the fastest guy that wins the race, it's the one with the steady pace. And that's kind of how we are. You know, we're not out, hurry, we gotta get this out, You know, we take our time and it works out.
You know, a good example of what Don just said was Wild Zero. That thing has been bootlegged a billion times, and we had problems. Our first transfer was not done properly. We had to insist that they redo it, and you know, the audio was off on the first go-around, and even though we sat and watched the bootlegs fly on eBay, we're very happy with the version we put out.
I think that a lot of people will be. That's a great film, but I think a lot of people will be very pleased with it. And speaking of that and the bootlegs flying for years, let's talk just quickly about the Entrails of the Virgin, Entrails of the Beautiful Woman films. A lot of speculation on your guys' how it's going to be handled. The big item being that those films have always been optically censored over the years because they are, well, 10 art delks have always been optically censored. They appear to be hardcore in places, at least graphically sexual. And in Japan, for those of you who don't know, all pubic nudity is optically censored. It's used to be a law, it's not anymore, but they still sort of abide by it. So tell us how that's been handled.
Okay, well, when we first did the titles, or first wanted to do the titles, we hooked up with the director Gyra, and he gave us interviews and things, and we ended up from the company getting new digital anamorphic masters from the original negatives, which no one has had. All the bootlegs and all the previous releases of this film have been out from old analog 1-inch masters that were very soft, had dropouts, and not anamorphically enhanced for widescreen TVs. These are brand new, right from the original negative, and they were made in the mid-'80s, which means that when they did make these films, the actors and actresses were all wearing basically white tape on their areas to cover themselves, to cover up the pubic hair, and then they would take, when they processed the negative, they would put these white glows around the areas to cover it up. So those films, no matter what anybody says, are always going to be that way. There's no such thing as unfogged versions of those 2 films because that's the way they were processed on the negative. And even if the negatives weren't processed that way, all the people in the movie would be running around with white tapes on their crotches. But on Entrails of the Beautiful Woman, which is the second one of the series, we noticed that when we got the transfer, there was a sequence in the movie that was actually done in silhouette. And on the old tapes and on the old versions of the movie, it was blocked with digital blocking. And when we got our transfers, lo and behold, the sequence wasn't fogged, or wasn't blocked. And that's because after they had done the film, they decided that maybe they should add some censoring to it. That may have been not necessarily objectionable at first. They might have second-guessed themselves and decided to put it in later. Well, since we're from the negatives, one of the scenes in that movie is not fogged, whereas on every other version it is. So, you know,
There's something I'd like to add to that. Don is very modest, but there's an interesting story with those two films, and I'm going to tell it. Don, please do. When we signed a license for that film, and the licensors sent us the same transfers that all the bootleggers used with the heavy digital dropouts, and just awful looking. And we sat for almost 3 years on a license, and we told them we will not produce these movies into DVDs unless you make us brand new masters. And after 3 years, they finally conceded. We had to pay for the new masters, but we finally got it. And that's an example of how we do things. We were going to let the entire license expire. We were going to lose our licensing fee because Don refused to put out an inferior-looking DVD, and it paid off. And we got brand new masters for the original Megs, and those movies have never looked so good.
See, once again, that's the way to go with that sort of thing, and I think it's worth the wait. I remember those were among the first titles you guys had announced.
Yep. It took a long time.
I was so excited.
The end product is better than we expected it to be.
That's fantastic. Well, you've got us anxiously waiting for all that stuff you mentioned for the. All right, well, we're back, and we're gonna, so what did you think of
well, it lifted that fog from me a little bit. I understand it now.
Once the fog has been lifted.
Yes. Off of the punani, it's like, oh, that's why they did it.
No more hoo-ha fogging for you. So what did you think of Entrails of a Beautiful Woman?
I really liked it. I'd say I would give it probably around a 7 too. I mean, it was good. I mean, the drug Angel Rain, it's a neat idea, and how it changes the girls and everything. It's all right. So it was watchable.
Yeah, I thought that the gore effects were pretty terrific, and
it's just hard to separate the characters because you don't know which is which, and they all have these weird names. And like, okay, didn't I just see that girl get killed?
That is true. Yeah,
I can't tell them apart.
There is a lot of different characters in both these movies. So, what'd you think of the follow-up and Entrails of the Virgin?
Same thing. To me, it was the same movie.
Okay, it was just one big long flick.
Except this one was just, all about that monster.
It was all about the monster and the getting busy.
And they could have used the same actors too, because I wouldn't have been able to tell the difference.
You weren't paying attention. So,
all right, whatever.
I personally,
it was good. Gore's good, and I like that.
And you always are saying movies need more TNA.
Yes, they do.
There's lots of that in both of these.
Yeah, and they're all natural tits too.
Which is actually, you don't see a lot of implants and things
in Japanese women.
Japan women. No, that's true. Well, I actually like Entrails of the Beautiful Woman a lot more. I think it has a lot more story and a lot more interesting things going on. I think the whole creation of the hermaphrodite monster at the end is pretty cool and interesting. That's creative filmmaking, ladies and gentlemen.
You are do me, and it comes out the abdomen.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's some crazy stuff. So I'm actually going to agree with you on that one and go 7.
Somebody was drinking too much sake when they made these films.
There's a lot of sake going on that set. Entrails of the Virgin, on the other hand, though I don't like nearly as much. I'm going to probably go a 5 on that one. Well, no, that's lower than it deserves. I'll say 6. I will go 6. It's got a lot, like I said, once it picks up in the second half, I think it's really good. But the first half is a little sluggish to get through until the monster shows up. And then once he's like pouncing out people's eyes, and the girls are masturbating with severed arms.
Yeah, that was, you have to admit.
I think it really sort of takes off at that point.
I mean, it does push that envelope. It's like, wow, I can't believe they did that.